Nerderotic.com.
Welcome to the Nerderotic channel. My name is Gary Beekler. I am in San Francisco, California, and today I'd like to talk to you about Mr. Spock going to Star Trek Discovery. But first off, I got to give a shout out to my friends Random Game User 42 and Doomcock Overlord DVD. Go check out their YouTube channels. They've both done videos on this subject that are great. I highly recommend you go see them. But I'd like to add my 2 cents at this point, a little late in the game, and I don't usually do recorded videos, but circumstances have allowed me to do this. I'm actually home and I have the time to do a little bit of editing, although after you watch the video, you'll wonder what freaking editing did you do? But that aside, Star Trek Discovery, it is no surprise that they're pulling this early, and it shows you what kind of trouble this show is really in. And this show has been nothing but trouble from the get-go. From the rights issues between Viacom and CBS, I highly recommend you watch Midnight's Edge video on this. It's brilliant, and it breaks it down so good. I think it's about 45 minutes long. It's really worth the watch. And then we had Brian Fuller pulling out he pulls out of a lot of shows, so you can't completely blame Star Trek for that one, but he pulled out, and just in time, as we'll say. We also have shooting delays, $10 million an episode, the head of CBS being a perv. They fired the writers halfway through season 2. There has just been tons of problem. The shooting delays delayed the release of Star Trek Discovery, which was supposed to coincide with the release of CBS All Access. Instead, they had to release it with, I think, Big Brother, and it probably ended up doing better. Who knows? But before I go on, let's get to the article that spawned all this debate, which is TVGuide.com's Star Trek Discovery Spock will be very different from the version you know by Kaisha Hatchett. Nothing against Kaisha. She just wrote the article. She is but the messenger, doing her job. Alas, Spock is definitely headed to Star Trek Discovery in Season 2, but he won't be the cool-headed Vulcan you know from their Star Trek series. After dropping the big news that the OG character was headed to Discovery at Comic-Con, new showrunner Alex Kurtzman shared even more details about Spock's much-anticipated appearance, and it looks like there's going to be some more family drama ahead. This is not entirely the Spock who has been formed enough to be the Spock that we know from the TOS. There's a lot of story about who Spock was before he becomes the Spock that is the yin-yang to Kirk. Kurtzman told TV Guide, "What I'm so excited about is we have an opportunity to present a version of Spock that's both totally consistent with the Spock everyone knows, but very, very different. And it's all going to tie to how we sync up with canon. That will be Shakespearean if you're able to pull that off. I would love to see it, but I highly doubt that's going to happen." And I got to repeat that he said both totally consistent with the Spock everyone knows, but very, very different. Awesome Hollywood doublespeak right there. In other words, we're going to fuck with your character because we can, and that's Hollywood. And that shows you how much they care. I mean, right there, it shows you how much they actually care. And this show has writers like Akiva Goldsmith, who is loosely related to Nipples on the Batsuit and probably directly involved in Sonar in Space. These are crimes against humanity, or at least crimes against writing. So these are the writers they brought us. That shows you how much respect they have for you, the Star Trek fan, and the show itself and this canon they speak of. Spock's appearance on Discovery will be tied to his relationship with his adopted sister Burnham, who has never been mentioned before in Star Trek canon. Kurtzman previously told us that Season 2 will explain exactly why Spock never brought up Burnham during his time on the USS Enterprise with Kirk and the rest of the gang. And according to Sonequa Martin Green, it looks like we'll see firsthand some of the reasons why. I have a prediction. Mikey Spock will be such a better Vulcan as a human than Spock, who is only half human, that he will not emotionally be able to go on. He's just too weak-minded. So Mikey Spock will teach him how to be a man, and then she will mind meld herself out of his brain so he doesn't have to feel threatened by her in any way, and he can move on, and she can go on and be the queen of the universe. "We're certainly going to see Spock, and we're going to be exploring those family dynamics," she said. "We're going to see a lot between them." How much? Added executive producer Heather Caden. "I think that, like any brother and sister, there's love." I'm not sure where you're going with this. "There's deep wells of stuff." I think I know where you're going with this. Now, I know you wanted to be like Game of Thrones, okay, but you're not. All right, The Expanse is like Game of Thrones, but I don't think you should be like Game of Thrones in this way, but that might be a little more interesting. That's what's so great about exploring that relationship. It's a lot of tricky stuff that we can dig into. There's a lot of stuff she's talking about. No word yet on who will play the famous Vulcan, but we can't wait to see him in action. Season 2 also finds Anson Mount headed to the series as Captain Pike, the man who helmed the USS Enterprise before Kirk. A teaser for the upcoming series reveals that he'll take over the USS Discovery to face a mysterious new threat that could be tied to Spock. And this mysterious new threat, by the way, is 7 ill-tempered shades of the color red. That reminds me a lot of the J.J. Abrams Red Matter that's popped up in Star Trek, Alias, Fringe, and it's basically a J.J. Abrams plot device to get him out of plot devices. What it'll probably end up being is some enlightened, ill-tempered shades of the color red that only Michael Burnham understands. Spock investigated him, went mad. She goes out and finds him. She saves Spock, but in the meantime, he forgets her. The show really is that predictable. The impending danger will send them all over the galaxy, where they'll meet interesting new faces, including Tig Notaro's Denise Reno, chief engineer of the Federation ship Hiawatha, plus Rebecca Romaine. No, Stamos. Oh, that's too bad. Is set to play the Enterprise's #1, a role originally played by Michelle Roddenberry in the TOS pilot. Star Trek Discovery will return for Season 2 in 2019 on CBS All Access. Thank you for the warning. So, unfortunately, the show's not getting canceled this season anyway, and it looks like we're stuck with what writers they have, and it looks like we're stuck with Kurtzman, so I don't have a lot of hope. If you want to improve it right now, you fire all the aforementioned people. You bring in Ronald D. Moore, and maybe he can make something out of it, but that's just pie-in-the-sky fanboy stuff. Really, I'm going to agree with Doomcock. Don't waste your time on this show. Don't waste your money. You work too hard for it. Your time is too valuable. And Star Trek fans, you deserve so much better. You really do. You're the most passionate fan base. Again, like I said before, you're the first fan base. The fan films, Star Trek Continues, Axanar, amazing stuff. Really fun stuff. And I'm not the biggest Trekkie or Trekker in the world, okay? I'm a science fiction fan. I have watched Star Trek my entire life, and I want it to be good, all right? I want to fill my shelves with Blu-rays and 4Ks and, and my computer with digital copies of new Star Trek, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen anytime soon. The only reason I'm going to continue watching it is so you don't have to, and that's what you can rely on from us, from Doomcock, Random Game User 42, Anti-Trekker, Midnight's Edge. We'll watch this stuff for you so you don't have to. Now, there's a lot of fans still hanging on. There's a lot of fans who are going to come at me in the comments and say this is a really good show, and I'm going to say, come back to me after this season, because I think this is going to be the thing that pushes you over the edge. All right, for the people who are still hanging on by their fingernails to what they believe is their fandom, what you're actually doing is you're helping this be bad and stay bad and continue. We need to stop the obligation or habitual viewing or whatever you want to call it of stuff we love. I saw this a lot in the comic shop I owned for 10 years in San Francisco. I saw habitual buyers, habitual readers who would just get Spider-Man even though it was written by Dan Slott and hadn't been good for years. And they weren't even reading it, but they were buying it to complete their collection. I feel like there's a lot of that out there with Star Trek. Yes, there are people who genuinely like it. And you know what? I guess there's something for everybody. But the only thing this really has achieved, like I said, is splitting the fan base in half. And that's not what you want when you have an IP this strong. It should be one of the strongest IPs out there. And Paramount, prior to Viacom and CBS, has systematically screwed this up. And now it's at the bottom. I think it's at the bottom. So hopefully we'll get something resurrected and great out of this, but we probably won't. But I say at this point, bring it the hell on. Bring on Spock. Change his character fundamentally. Go ahead and do it. And you know what? Bring on Kirk. Screw it. Do that too. Change his character fundamentally too, because the faster that happens, the faster this thing crashes and burns, and we can just forget all about it. And what does this say of their respect for Sonequa Martin Green? This was supposed to be a series. This is basically her superhero origin. I mean, if you watch season 1, it's a superhero origin. It's not a Star Trek show. We barely know the other members of the crew. What does this say about her, that they have to bring in Pike and the Enterprise, and this is why you don't do prequels. If they would have just gone in the future with it, they could have played with all this crap. It still would have sucked, but you wouldn't have people complaining about canon as much. I don't know. Tell me what you think. I think this is a horrible idea, but I say bring it on, because it'll end it faster. It'll make this all go away. We're just going to have to kind of grin and bear it for a little while, or cringe and bear it, or what I recommend to the regular viewer, don't watch it at all, and we'll eventually get the Star Trek we want. Oh, we kind of have that right now. It's called the Orville.
Nerderotic.com. Please subscribe.
Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw and heard, please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to catch our Star Trek Discovery recaps in 2019. Take care, everybody.